Today I wrote my lecture notes for you guys on this napkin, and I'm gonna go off this napkin for the most part. I was out eating a burrito and figured to write them down. Anyways, so the code. First, we're gonna be going over the ways that you get hypothermic. So hypothermic is a fancy word for being cold. So your patient is hypothermic. It can happen in one of these 5 ways or in a combination of all of them, right? So first is conduction. So what is conduction? How do I lose heat with conduction? So this right here, that's conduction. So by my hand physically touching something else that is colder than my hand, I am losing heat. My heat is being transferred from my hand onto this board. That's conduction. So by touching, right? It's the transfer, physical transfer of heat from a hot object or a warm object to a less hot object to a less warm object. Next we have convection. So convection is in this room. The AC is on right now, right? By air circulating through this room, I am losing heat as the wind hits me. I'm losing heat, okay? This can also happen in a river. So if you are sitting still in a river, there's a river right here. This marker is a person. They're sitting in a river. If the river is still, yeah, I'm saying it right, still, like water's not moving, right? There's no current in the river. They are not gonna lose as much heat as opposed to if they were in the same river during the spring when everything is melting and the water is rushing down. That water, as it's rushing through this body, this person's body, is gonna take away heat. It's gonna pull away heat. So that's how convection works. It's literally taking away the heat through convection. It could be wind, a current, or a combination of both. All right. Next, we have radiation. So the way radiation works is that it just radiates. Just how it sounds, it radiates to heat. So just like when you walk in a room and you radiate awesomeness, your heat's also radiating off of that. It's just natural, it just happens. So that's radiation. As far as evaporation, that usually happens with sweat. So when you sweat out stuff, fluid, you sweat, it evaporates and then heat is taken away like that. And finally, respiration. When you breathe out, you're breathing out the warmness from your body. The best way to not allow this to happen is just stop breathing. Like, don't breathe. Like, wait out, stop it. Stop breathing. No, I'm just playing, but these aren't bad, all right? It happens every day. The thing, when these become an issue, it's when it's prolonged, all right? So by having conduction, convection, radiation, evaporation, and respiration, we're losing heat. It's an everyday occurrence. It happens all the time. Well, when we're cold, it's called generalized hypothermia. So generalized hypothermia is a fancy word or fancy way of saying that you're cold. That's just me being cold, you being cold, just like the normal coldness. When you walk out, it's cold and you're like, oh crap, let me go grab my sweater because it's cold. That's generalized hypothermia. Now this usually isn't a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. But then again, it becomes a big deal if it's prolonged. If you're general hypothermia for a long period of time without getting into a warm space, now we have an issue, right? So that's when it becomes a big deal. Also, so let's see, what did I write here on this little napkin? So it's a big deal. So big deal. One, when it's prolonged. Or two, if you have any kind of condition that either affects your circulatory system or affects your immune system to where you can't really combat the coldness. Because as far as circulation is, because if you have a poor circulation, you can't transfer the heat throughout your body to generate heat and keep you warm efficiently, so that's why it's a big deal. So any kind of conditions, such like any cardiac issues, diabetes will also slow down your circulatory system, things like that. All right, and obviously age, as you get older, you're less effective with keeping your heat, your core temperature up, so you need bigger jackets, stuff like that. I think that covers that. Let me go get something. I think I was writing here something. What else do we got today? So this video is going to be only on the code issues for your environmental chapter, okay? That's it. So as far as treatments, we have what's called passive treatments. So passive treatments. Passive means just that, obviously. So that means that you're gonna warm the patient off using some kind of passive form. That means turning on the heater. So heater is gonna be on, right? Heater in the car. In the back of your rig, turn on the heater. It helps the patient warm up passively. Also a blanket. A blanket is passive because you're allowing the patient to warm up with their own core temperature. You're just kind of helping them out a little bit. And that's pretty much it as far as passive. Have them rub their hands. They could have like rub their hands. Maybe that'll help out too. And then we have what's called active warming. So active rewarmings. Active. So active works in the form of conduction. So conduction. So the way active warming works is that you literally either get like their hand if it's cold and put it in a bucket of warm water. So as long as it's warmer than their actual extremity or the side that's affected, it's an active warming. So a bucket of water. So bucket of warm water. Bucket warm water. Also hot packs. If you put a hot pack on a patient, through conduction, you're actively warming. You're applying heat to the patient. The reason a blanket is not active is because there's no temperature on the blanket. The blanket is a blanket, right? You're not sure what the temperature is. Usually a blanket is not going to be warmer than a human's body. So that's why. And then hot packs. Hot pack. All right, let me go get my little eraser and then keep going. So we went over how cold happens. There's 5 ways it happens: conduction, convection, radiation, evaporation, and respiration. So if you have to rewind, go ahead and rewind. So you just kind of pause it, think about it a little bit, and then we'll keep going. Also, passive rewarming means that you're letting the person's core temperature come up. They're warming up themselves by putting them in a good environment, all right? So heater, blankets, they can rub their own hands, stuff like that. Active warming, we're applying heat, something that's hotter than the patient's temperature through a bucket of warm water. Dip that extremity in there, or hot packs. It's warmer than their current temperature. All right, generalized hypothermia. That means you're cold. It's normal coldness. It's only a problem if it continues, right? And if you have any kind of other factors besides the coldness that affects your immune system, your ability to generate heat, or affects your circulatory system via cardiac or diabetes, because diabetes makes your blood thick if you're a hyperglycemic. All right, I think I have another little napkin over here that I wrote some stuff in that I should talk about today. So, I'm just going to talk over the difference between frostnip, frostbite, the treatments, and extreme hyperthermia. So, extreme hyperthermia, as far as patients that are in extreme hyperthermia, you're out in, I don't know, the Sequoias, it's January, there was a missing hiker for like 3 days because he was super adventurous and wanted to go hike in his tank top, and he's awesome like that. You guys found him, he's really cold, but you think he might be alive. Even if you don't think he might be alive, it doesn't matter really, per your textbook, per the rules, is that a patient that's in extreme hyperthermia, the little frozen, not frozen, that's an extreme word, but like, they're stiff, they're definitely not moving right now. If they don't have a pulse, don't assume that they're done, all right? They may still have a chance. Do CPR, all right? If they do have a pulse, treat them as you would treat anybody else. Take them out of that environment. Don't take them to a hospital ASAP. The rule for medicine, even in a hospital setting, is that you're a patient. Remember this. Write this down. Tattoo it on yourself. Remember this. For an extreme cold situation, your patient is not dead unless they're warm and dead. All right? freeze. I'm just letting you soak that in. All right, cool. So number one rule when it comes to cold stuff, cold injuries, cold emergencies, is that patient, PT stands for patient, is not dead unless they are warming it. So let me just pull up on a patient and be like, oh, like, homie's frozen. He's been missing for 3 days. Like, hey, morgue, like, this guy's dead. Just come pick him up. No. Do CPR. Do what you gotta do. I mean, obviously, common sense. If the guy's in a block of ice, you're not gonna do anything. But use your common sense for sure. All right. Next thing, frost nip versus frostbite. So, frost nip and frostbite. Difference is this frost nip is it will present as kind of reddish, red. And a lot of us, I know I have frost nip tons of times. It feels like it's burning, right? Like it feels like it's kind of like a burning sensation. So you'll have a burning sensation. Like it's burning. I'll put S. Hopefully you guys know what that means, sensation. And then also, apart from that, that's really pretty much all I know. And what the book says. Let's see if I'm missing anything. So you'll have a patient redness, burning sensation. That's pretty much it. Yeah. As far as the treatment goes, so RX, I use RX for treatment. As far as treatment goes, is just you can use active warming if you want. I mean, I would active warming. Actively warm it. Be active about it. Active warming also. I mean, if you think it might be going to frost nip, stabilize it, splint it in place. You can do that. So stabilize. I'm not sure how to spell, so whatever. Stabilize question mark. That's really up to you. Remember, principle, preference, all that stuff. Also, what else could we do for this patient? That's it. Get him out of the cold, warm it up, and stabilize it if you think you have to. Now, for frostbite, this is kind of a big deal right here. Okay. It's pretty much frozen, so it may look waxy, gray to blue in appearance. Numbness for sure. It'll be more of a numbing feeling, so numb. And then as far as the treatment for this patient, get him the hell out. Go to the hospital. So vitamin diesel, right? Vitamin D. Diesel, step on it, get him going. You definitely want to put O2 on this patient. Do not actively rewarm this patient's extremity. The reason you don't want to actively rewarm a frostbite is because, think about it. My hand right now is completely frozen, right? Because everything else was covered, but my hand was like sticking out, whatever. It's frozen. If I start actively rewarming this, some of that blood that was entering tissue have coagulated. That means it bunched up. So I am now allowing these chunks of things, because I'm doing it aggressively, I'm actively rewarming this patient's part to just flow through my body. That could cause an embolism somewhere, right? That's not good. You don't want that in your patient. A heart attack can happen, pulmonary embolism can happen, a whole bunch of messed up stuff can happen. It could go in the brain. So you don't want to actively warm this patient. At the same time, do not rub. So I'm going to put that in treatment. Do not. So I'm going to put, let me see, active, no. Rub, hell no. So you don't want to actively warm. You don't want to rub it. The reason you don't want to rub it or push down upon it is because it's frozen, right? So if tissue's frozen and you're squeezing down that tissue, you're destroying tissues. You're completely collapsing the tissue. Once it heals up, it's going to be very hard for it to be functional, be good again. So this one, you definitely want to splint it in place. So splint it. Do not allow it to move. Act like it's a broken. Treat a frostbite like a broken extremity. If it's an extremity, it's always going to be an extremity. If it's an ear, there's not much you can do really. I mean, who cares? Lose an ear. I mean, you're not gonna get a lot of dates, but oh well, who cares, right? It's an ear. But an extremity, like a full-blown extremity, it's a big deal, and you want to do all this stuff. Never squeeze it. Never actively rewarm a frostbite. Hey guys, that's it. I killed it. Today's gonna be pretty short. Most of these are gonna be short. For the most part, eventually down the road, maybe like in December, I'm gonna be making more videos. So you can actually go on a link, and they're not gonna be on YouTube. I'm still gonna make some for YouTube, a lot for YouTube, trust me, but there's gonna be some more that are broken down, that break things down even better, and eventually there will be a link below on all my YouTube channels, so you can click on there and then go to just go through the rest of my videos. Tons and tons of videos I'm gonna make, break through subcategories, break it down. You can request a video, I'll make it for you. But that's, just letting you know for now. Besides that, if you have any questions, click below. I'm gonna probably be making a hyperthermic video for today too. Heat injuries. Peace.